like to first acknowledge the unnecessary impact this is having on Canadians. We're devastated. Talking to our media team, talking to our social media team, our guest contact center, Canadians are missing wedding celebrations, well-deserved holidays. They're missing important medical appointments, family reunions, and the stress and the devastation this is causing is unnecessary and hurts all of us. We're outraged. And I just want to make sure that you rest assured that we are doing everything we can to get this resolved and to get an intervention. Thank you.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I can only reiterate what our president just said. It is devastating where we are, and it's particularly disappointing. As you all know, the minister has ordered the CRIB to mandate arbitration. So with this, the bargaining process has actually ended, because an arbitrator is going to decide on the contract and not the bargaining table. This makes a strike totally absurd, because the reason why you actually do a strike is because you need to, or you may need to, exercise pressure on the bargaining table. If there is no bargaining table, it makes no sense, which basically means that there shouldn't be a strike. So in our view, and the way I also read the minister's tweet this morning, also in his view, the CRIB and AMFA, who has gone on strike, have actually not followed what the minister wanted, which is industrial peace and the resolution of this on an arbitrated basis. So we are now faced with a situation that makes it extremely difficult for our guests, and that will only grow in difficulties and in magnitude as we progress through time. So we are also awaiting for clarification from the minister, as he has announced this morning, to come later during the day. Thank you.
Trying to keep some order to questions, but yeah.
So, what's the next move? Is there anything you're planning to do with this?
So we are waiting to hear from the minister what the clarification could look like, and expect that this is going to happen over the next couple of hours.
For all the flights that have been canceled, will any of those people be compensated beyond what WestJet provides for hotels that they were unable to access, or amenities that they were supposed to get? Will WestJet be providing any compensation to them?
We abide by the regulation, and the regulation has stipulated we obviously return money, and as a gesture of goodwill, we do provide some depending on the flights, an overnight hotel stay. But further than that, we're not in a position to provide any additional compensation. Also looking at the significant impact it is already having on WestJet.
Can you speak more about that impact? What is that economic impact?
For now, I'd just like to state with the impact it is having on our guests. Today we've already had to cancel 235 flights. That has impacted already 33,000 guests, and that is devastating.
Are you canceling more flights?
If no solution is coming today, we would be canceling another 150 flights today, so that would make it even worse.
Is there a certain time that you need to know by before you decide to cancel those flights?
Early afternoon, mountain time.
If you were someone hopping on a flight and you were in the position of a passenger, would you advise them to be looking at a different airline at this time if they're flying today or tomorrow or this week?
It depends on, obviously, the purpose of their travel. I cannot decide where people have to go and why. We are obviously working on resolving this as quickly as possible, and I would leave it with the guest, as I cannot decide for the guest.
Where are you most? What's the biggest gap? What issues are you guys furthest apart on?
I think it's a pretty unprecedented measure that the minister actually stepped in to mandate arbitration, and a minister wouldn't do this unless there would be a very strong reason to do so. The government has always been following our bargaining process very, very closely. The federal conciliation team has been at the table and has been watching this very closely. So they're very much across how the parties act. And obviously the government determined by knowing how things have been progressing that there's no solution in sight, especially because there's one party that is currently acting very unreasonable, is calling for a strike that is doing nothing but damage, but is serving no purpose because there is no bargaining. And also a party that has rejected an offer that would have made our aircraft maintenance engineers the by far best paid in the country, with a more than 20% gap compared to the next best. And they say this is not enough. We don't want industry. They recognize it's industry leading. They said we don't want industry leading, we want industry changing. And that's obviously divorced from reality. That's not how bargaining works. And that's where the whole process broke down.
How busy is Canada Day a long weekend compared to other normal weekends?
We have around 70,000 guests a day. And a normal weekend would be between 60 to 65,000. So it is obviously the purpose of the travel, as well as the load factors, as well as the number of flights. It is significantly more than a normal weekend.
Do you have an estimation of financial impact to WestJet that this might cause, if by day maybe?
We will assess this in hindsight. Obviously, the economic impact is significant, but our current thinking is about how to resolution this and about the impact that has on our guests. Because we don't want, our purpose is to serve guests and get them to where they want to go and not to cancel their trips and causing lots and lots and lots of terrible stories that these guests are then exposed to.
How many places did you say have been canceled out of Calgary?
Today, 235.
And what was it yesterday, sorry?
It was around 25.
But I believe this is network-wide and not just Calgary.
Yeah, sorry, that is network-wide, yes, good point.
So you said that there were 33,000 guests?
Impacted today alone.
Just today,
We have a question around whether or not there are any conversations taking place between WestJet and the union this weekend.
At the moment, there are no discussions taking place. We are exchanging some documentation, but there are no discussions taking place. As earlier said, the minister has stepped in, and the minister has said mandatory arbitration, and the CRB is involved to facilitate this.
And just as another reminder, the union doesn't seem to want to negotiate. A week ago, we had a first strike notice, and then they rescinded that strike notice after we agreed to have four additional days of bargaining. On the first day, after a few hours, while we were still negotiating, they issued the next strike notice, which just shows their only purpose was to disrupt as many Canadian travel as possible and actually not come to conclusion at the table. And then even exercising this strike after the minister has ordered mandatory arbitration makes no sense whatsoever, because there's no leverage to the table, as there is no more bargaining table, as an arbitrator is going to decide on the outstanding open issues. So this is a very destructive thing, basically done by a rogue US union that's trying to make inroads into Canada and taking some practices in here that are very, very unusual, and that myself, in 25 years of experience in this industry and having negotiated lots and lots of collective agreements, I've never experienced before. At WestJet, we have 11 different bargaining units. With 10 of them, we came to a good conclusion with very generous and fair contracts with our union partners for our valued staff members. And in not a single case we were even anywhere close to where we are right now. And I think this speaks both to our own track record in coming up with very strong agreements and being a fair and reasonable partner in negotiations, but it also speaks to that this has not been the case here. While we haven't changed, the union is a different one, and they are acting clearly in bad faith and creating all this damage today.
How long can you maintain minimal service without mechanics?
minimal service. We will be operating around 30 to 35 aircraft. We'll be operating around 150 flights, and we will be able to continue doing that for some time.
And how do you choose which flights are canceled and which ones might be delayed, if there's a process for that?
We try to, we aim to operate the 787s because we believe that that is crucial to keep operating those for our guests, and then we'll try to connect our main destinations in a minimal frequency.
Are you canceling more flights than strictly necessary given the absence of mechanics?
We operate all the flights we're safely able to do.
You have time for one more question. Good? Wow, perfect.
Thank you very much for coming here today.